This is episode number 50, and today we're going to be talking about our most anticipated most anticipated games that'll be coming out this year, and a little bit of what we've been playing lately as well.
Yeah, let's start off with that. John, what have you been playing lately?
I have been playing... Well, I'm finishing up Strategic Command World War One. Amazing game, love it. But my time has been being stolen by a few other games. One, EU4, which I know you guys are in a nice little tournament in, which I do want to pick your brains on, because I'm kind of curious about how you, Matt and Eric feel about EU4, especially after all these DLCs. So I kind of got reinvigorated into the EU4 gaming mantra here. But another game now has kind of stolen me from EU4, and that game is Hearts of Iron 4 because of the new DLC, La Resistance. Have you guys tried out the La Resistance? I know it's coming out in a couple of days. I think it's last week of February it's coming out. Have you guys been keeping track of it, or maybe play the beta?
I have not.
I got an email about it.
Yeah, I'm planning to actually play it tomorrow. So if we want to just pause this recording and give me 24 hours.
Reschedule.
No, I have not played it either.
Yeah, I'm excited about it, but I have no first-hand experience as of yet.
Are you a big Hearts of Iron player, or do you play a lot?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Hearts of Iron 2 may be one of my most played games of all time. Hearts of Iron 3 would also be up there. Hearts of Iron 4 is a little bit less played than the previous two, but it's still popular.
Why is that, though? I'm kind of curious. Why do you feel like it's why is it less?
Well, yeah, I mean, for people who come from Hearts of Iron 3, the main problem that people found with Hearts of Iron 3 is that it was too hard to get into. If you did manage to get into it, it's pretty good. It's great. And there's definitely some aspects, I mean, especially when Hearts of Iron 4 came out, like the production system and all this. I mean, this is probably a talk for another time, but basically, Hearts of Iron 3 is more complicated, it's more detailed, it's a little bit more annoying in its complexity. But if you like to micromanage everything, it's better.
Yeah, I mean, I like Hearts of Iron 3. I really loved it. The only thing that I didn't like them removing, and I think I believe we talked to the lead designer for Hearts of Iron 4. The only thing I wish they kept in was the core system. So going from divisions to corps to armies and army groups. I know they removed the core, so... you basically just have divisions and armies and then army groups. I know it's a little thing, but I do like having that kind of structure in there. But everything else about Hearts of Iron 4, with all these DLCs that they added, I'm just amazed. One thing that I'm actually in a game right now with a buddy of mine, and I'm totally getting fucked over, right? He's taking over all of Europe, and I'm I'm England, so I'm right at the shore, and I'm like, holy shit, what do I do? He's just gonna develop transports and just head on over and do a little operation. What the fuck was that name? Operation
Overlord.
I was gonna say Barbarossa, but no.
You landing?
No, the one.
No,
the Germans are landing on Sea Lion.
The one that didn't happen.
Yeah, thankfully. But one amazing thing that I love about Hearts of Iron 4 is you can mine the ports, the provinces. So wherever his fleet is, I could just mine the shit out of it and kind of, alleviate some of that tension that I've been feeling.
Well, so Sean is playing U4, Hearts of Iron 4, some Strategic Command World War One. I am also playing Strategic Command World War One. I'm also playing a little bit of EU4. I'm getting kind of my 2D top-down space exploration itch scratched lately with a free title called Endless Space. I don't know if either of you are familiar with the Escape Velocity titles from back in the 90s, or if you've heard of this newer game that's pretty similar, Star Sector. I've always liked that kind of genre, or if you know the X series with X3 Terran Conflict, X3 Reunion. Wow, okay, if all those draw a blank for you, then I like the space exploration, trading, combat type genre, and I've been playing a bit of Endless Space. Actually, in my Strategic Command World War One, I'm doing a play-by-email multiplayer series, which is pretty rare for me. I'm very timid playing against other people, unless it's co-op. So, I've started a new series on Rule the Waves, Rule the Waves 2. That game's in constant development. And
Oh, they keep adding stuff to it? You notice?
mostly they're trying to fix, thankfully, they're trying to fix the user issues, like the difficulty in managing aircraft, which I think THG can attest to. or maybe not. We didn't actually get that far in our progression series or succession series.
Other than using them for scouting aircraft, like by the time you get to the point where there's just swarms and swarms of land-based aircraft, I typically end my series because I just don't find that terribly interesting.
Yeah, that's pretty fair. So I've been playing a lot of things. I guess I've been keeping pretty busy. Dungeon Crawl, Stone Soup, another fun one. Yeah, and then Flying Smile too. I don't know how the heck I'm juggling all these things, but I guess it's been a long time.
You've been playing a lot of fucking games, Tortuga.
But it's been a long time since we've recorded an episode, so... okay, the truth of the matter is this. My hard drive, my main boot solid-state drive, crashed about 2-3 weeks ago, and so now I had the duty of going on Steam and being like, what do I want to install? And then after I started installing things, I would sample everything I was installing. So that's just how it happened. But okay, well, THG, what are you playing?
I've been playing a lot of EU4, which is a game that I've had, and this is going to sound absurd, but I've had EU4 for like 5 years or so, and I basically never played it. I don't think I've ever played it on Steam. I think I played an off-Steam version of it briefly. But I probably had less than 2 hours of EU4 in my history, and I've been playing it. I've been really enjoying it. I think there's, you said something the other day when we were playing together, Tortuga, that I think I'm really experiencing, and that is, it's amazing to come to a game like this for the first time when it is so fleshed out and polished, compared to, and this isn't to dig, but compared to, like a brand new Paradox game. The game's evolved so much over time. And so like when you come to a game, when it first releases, for example, I'll say Hearts of Iron 4, because you were talking about that, John. I really enjoyed Hearts of Iron 4 when it came out. I played a lot of Hearts of Iron 4 when it came out. And then as they started layering on these other DLCs and other expansions, I kind of fell away from the series, and it wasn't because I didn't like it. Actually, Hearts of Iron 4 was probably the first Hearts of Iron game I really played a ton of, and I have Hearts of Iron 2 on a disc in the closet next to me. I have Hearts of Iron 3, in my library as well. And those games just kind of, I think part of it was they were so obtuse and you had to learn so much that I kind of never had the time or devoted the time to it. And Hearts of Iron 4 was really easy to pick up and play and just enjoy. And so I experienced that with Hearts of Iron 4, but then when they started layering in all the different DLCs, every time one of those games came out, it kind of felt like I had to go back and I had to relearn everything, and that takes time, and that takes effort, and that takes mental processing. And if it's, one of your favorite games, like a lot of people out there who really enjoy the series, you're probably going to do that. But for me, it wasn't, it was good, but it wasn't something that would prevent me from playing a bunch of other things that were coming out, and so I just kind of fell away from it. Coming into EU4, I'm just astounded because again, we've been playing online with some folks who have all the DLCs, so we can play all of them, and it is a tremendous game. And to come to a Paradox game for the first time, late in its life cycle, it is truly remarkable to see how deep, how well put together the game is, and just how much of a joy it is to play. And I think that's one of the things that I've...
What attracts you? What attracts you about the game? Like, what's like the main thing that kind of like won your heart over?
I mean, the main thing, I enjoyed the era. I think I would say I enjoy the late period of EU4 more so than the early period. But, I've been playing mostly as German states and sort of trying to weave yourself between the politics of all the different German states and getting the right states to like you so that you can become the Holy Roman Empire or Emperor is quite a lot of fun. And then also, making sure you don't get, stomped on by one of the other bigger German states, because they don't like you because you switch to Protestantism or what have you. I think it's really the political element. Hearts of Iron really, Is it fair to say Hearts of Iron really doesn't have diplomatic relations?
Yeah,
I think
Yeah, kind of, yeah. Because I mean, I'm playing as England, and I asked my buddy, I was just like, "Hey, how do I get the U.S. in the war?" And they're like, "Really, nothing. You have to kind of just like let them get down that path." And I'm like, "So there's nothing I can do. I'm kind of fucked." And he was like, "Yeah, pretty much." I'm like, "Shit."
just to kind of wrap this all up, I think what really interests me about EU4, Crusader Kings has a bit of this, but it's really a game about families and dynasties. EU4 is really a game about international politics, at least that's my view, and obviously expanding your control and taking over. But when you play as a German state, you have to be a lot more careful and thoughtful about that. Unless one of your friends is playing as Poland, and then they can come rescue you anytime you get in trouble. But in general, it's more a game about politics and building your empire, and it is the closest thing I can find to a newer version of Victoria, because the end of the era kind of starts to nuzzle up against that era of history, and so I don't know. I'd say that's a big part of what I've been enjoying. I will say that playing EU4 is making me long for Victoria 3 even more than I already was. So I really wanted to come out sometime soon.
I mean, it's a really good point. This is what people love and hate about Paradox, that their titles get tons of attention. This is like, you in theory, can't be a bad thing. They're just improving their games. Even if their DLC was free, though, you have, unfortunately, this mechanic where unless you're playing the game consistently, month by month by month, you can go away for a year and come back and not even know how to play the game anymore. So, yeah. That's the frustration. I've felt that frustration with EU4 several times. I've gone away and come back, I think 2 or 3 times, and every time it's like, oh my gosh, I don't know all the mechanics anymore. I don't really understand what I'm doing, and it's
it's nice to be able to come to it fresh and not have all the baggage of what you've learned previously, and also have it so, again, no game is perfect. In any game of this size, there's going to be things in it that you wish were different, but to be able to come to a game that is just so well put together and not have those preconceived notions of what you have to unlearn, I think that's
yeah, you're in a unique situation, and I envy you. That is pretty cool.
But I would say that's also if you haven't tried Paradox games in the past, obviously, I recommend looking for a sale, but they've done a pretty good job of like Humble Bundle and some other games where you've been able to get a huge portion of the DLC for CK, for EU, over the last, I don't know, couple of months where those games have been heavily discounted. So if those games, you missed them in the past and you just never got to them because the DLC list was too intimidating, which is certainly a thing, then, if you see a good sale and you haven't tried them out, I highly recommend it, because you're right. For most Paradox players, that's a unique experience to be coming at a game from. But I would say if you are in that group of people who haven't tried those games out, I highly recommend it, because CK3 is about to come out. So CK2 is obviously kind of at the end of its life. EU4, they haven't announced EU5. It's probably, a year or two away, and I think they're still doing some DLCs for it. But that's at the very end of its life as well. Hearts of Iron is well into its life cycle, but it's a ways in there as well. They're at a point where their catalog is relatively old, and I don't mean that as a negative thing, but their catalog is relatively old and relatively mature. So if you haven't gotten to those games, now is probably a good time to jump in and experience, the sort of the culmination of everything of like 5+ years of game development can deliver you in terms of that holistic experience. It's probably one of the rare times where you can get that from all their games right now.
I'm kind of curious. I wanted to get your guys' feedback. The only one thing that I would say, it's kind of an annoyance, it's not like really a con, but it's an annoyance. Do you guys ever run into like when you're trying to design an infantry division or a custom, through the division designer kind of UI, that you need like army experience? I was trying to like design like an armored division, and I only had armored brigades, and I'm like, I go in and I set up like the, divisions or battalions of tanks, and then I'm about to click save, and I don't have enough army experience. I feel like that took a little bit of the realism out. I'm like, oh, okay, so I have to get army experience to design an infantry division. I don't know. How do you guys feel about that?
I mean, I can see how it could be a frustration. think it makes a little bit more sense from the naval experience side. From the air experience side, it definitely makes more sense because those were, usually it's upgrades or stuff for the naval and air force. But for the land combat, I mean, the good news is that you are always given a generic type of armor and everything when you unlock the research. I think you start with an armored division of some kind of template, right? It's just when you change it that it won't let you do that without army experience.
Yeah, I mean, I can see the argument for it. I think I agree. I think the argument makes more sense from a naval or air combat perspective because they were learning so much at that time and everything was new. And so, how do you learn not to do something, or how do you learn to optimize something? It's by trying and failing. But I do think the argument to say, like, in order to learn what is absolutely maximum efficiency, you need to go through some failures. So I do think it makes some sense.
The other thing that, I mean, I'm not trying to shit on Hearts of Iron. I really love the game, honestly. As I was playing the stream, especially La Resistance, I was like, holy shit, what Paradox did with this game is incredible. Because the espionage system that they put in, it adds so much more depth into the game. But the only other thing that I would say is another annoyance that I had would be so I'm England, right? And France, the war began. Apparently, my buddy transformed the USSR into a fascist country and then invaded Poland, teamed up with Germany, and went to war with me. So I was kind of like up shit's creek because I had a couple of divisions in France, and the French were kind of just like, have just sitting there with their thumb up their ass, and I'm like, let's kind of coordinate and let's try to like go into Germany before they get into France, and I don't know, steamroll Berlin.
I hate to tell you this, but you've already lost that game. If you're facing Germany and Russia.
So you think so? There is no way I can come out of this if Russia.
Maybe if he gets the nuclear paddle, so he can paddle up that creek.
I would be considering a new game with this guy. If you are already outmaneuvered and Germany and Russia haven't, or the Soviet Union have an alliance, you're boned.
What do you think? What if I bring the U.S. in? Do you think there's a chance?
No.
The same chance that an 0-10 NFL team has in making the playoffs. I mean, theoretically, it's mathematically possible.
Yeah, I mean, if he already outmaneuvered you in that sense, I suspect that he's a good enough player that he won't let such an advantage slip away.
Shit. Yeah, because he said he's going to try to get me out before the U.S. comes in.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that you're going to straight up lose, as in he may not immediately conquer. It may be a slow grind to the death, but there's no way you're ever going to have a presence on Europe, ever. There's no way you're going to have any presence in Asia anymore. Because if
He said he was going to go through Afghanistan all the way to India, and I'm like, damn, dude, that's like, you're going to pretty much take over the world. He says, yeah, technically, I have 150 divisions, and I got another 50 in being developed, and I'm like, and my like jaw dropped.
Yeah, well, I wish you would luck with that one.
But with that being said, that's what we've been playing lately, so we should probably move on.
Yeah.
The main topic of this episode.